Hey, um, not sure who's gonna be watching this, but I am here. I'm gonna wait a little while until some people come and join me, so I'm not talking just to myself. I've got my book here with all the questions that you guys asked. Oh, one person. Wonder who that is. Yeah. Oh, hi Lee. I've got a book with all the questions that people asked. And, hey Becca. I guess, yeah, people can watch later, so I'm not going to delay the start too much. But I want to start by just, talking a little bit about my personal journey, I guess, with my identity. So growing up, I was a very what you'd call a tomboy, I suppose. I was very always into the dirt and playing with cars and trains, and I did play with horses as well, girly stuff as well, but in my memory anyway, mainly I used to enjoy playing with more sort of getting in the dirt and stuff, that kind of stuff. When I was a teenager, I had a lot of I found things like getting my period and my body changing quite distressing, and yeah, that kind of really freaked me out because I was expecting it. I'd had the talk with people and stuff about it, but it made my body feel very alien to me and very not me. And I lived with that feeling for quite a number of years before I realised that I was non-binary. Now, what non-binary kind of means is I don't identify as female and I don't identify as male. So it's not that my my gender in my head changes on a daily basis. The thing that changes is my gender expression, like how I dress and things like that. I'm going to start with some of the questions now. One of them was, are you going to transition? Now, I don't know at the moment if I'm going to have any physical gender confirmation surgeries or testosterone or anything like that, because I don't know whether that's the right thing for me. I don't like my chest. I find it very upsetting to have breasts on my chest, but I don't know if I would. That would be, if I had to choose one thing that I would do, it would probably be remove my breasts. I don't think I would do anything to my downstairs area, and I don't know whether I would do testosterone or not. Maybe, because there are things like my voice and my face shape and things that are quite feminine that I would prefer to be more androgynous or masculine. the next, so am I going to transition? Probably not, but I want to attend a gender identity clinic to talk through the issues that I have with my gender and my body dysphoria. So that's that. If you feel more femme than masc one day, would you feel the same about the binder? Yes. Even when I'm feeling... I never feel feminine. I don't know how to describe it. I will dress feminine on a certain day because those are the clothes I want to wear. Not because I'm feeling any different in myself. So I would feel the same about the binder, yes. Obviously, if it showed through my clothes and it didn't kind of look right, then I would possibly not wear it. But as a general rule, I prefer the flat chest look over the big chest look. For me. I also kind of want to talk, so for me, like, gender it's not a binary, so it's not one or the other, but it's also, a lot of people say gender is a spectrum. Now, that means that there's sort of male at one end, female at the other end, and a sort of gradient in between. Now, I don't really agree with that either. I think it's more like a colour, I don't know what they're called, but a colour chart where it's almost three-dimensional. Like, there's a lot of gender outside of that male and female spectrum. And some people are what's called gender fluid, which basically means that they do change, their identity does change and sort of wax and wane on a regular basis. But I'm not one of those people. My gender, for me, I feel I'm non-binary all the time, but some of the time my gender expression, so the way I dress might be different so I wouldn't dress androgynously every single day. Some days I dress more masculine, some days I dress more feminine, but that doesn't actually alter how I feel about myself inside. The next question is, when did this start? And I kind of covered that earlier, but from being very young, I knew there was something I didn't understand and didn't like about my body. But it was really when I was a young teenager going through puberty that I realised that there was something really uncomfortable about the changes my body was going through. Says, can my gender change throughout the day? And no, like I said, my gender is pretty fixed. Do you feel that your gender is supported in everyday life? Now, this is an interesting one because my family are very traditional, and it's not really something that they support. It's not something I talk about with them because I don't want to get into arguments with them. But for me, it's about I feel supported by a lot of my friends. I feel supported by most of my carers. I I feel supported by to a certain extent medical professionals, but not always. I'll cover that later, but it's hard. It's hard to talk about for me, this, because it's been a really difficult journey for me. I've spent a few times in psychiatric wards, and part of the reason that I ended up admitted was because I was so unhappy with my my body and the way that I looked. So I've gone quite a long way to present myself as looking more masculine, because for me, if I look more masculine, people are less likely to assume that I'm a female, because obviously I was assigned female at birth. I don't want people to assume that I am female, so I almost go a little bit further the other way, so that I would rather people assume that I was a man, even though I'm not a man. I would much prefer people to assume I was a man than to assume that I was a woman, because that's further away from where I started, if that makes sense. Next question. Is your gender supported in hospital? And there's a sort of follow-up question about hospital bays and which bay I would be in. I generally don't come out to medical professionals, because I don't feel comfortable yet doing that. So most of the medical professionals that I work with on a regular basis quite often will call me Alice, quite often will misgender me and say she, and view me entirely as a female. I don't know how to get around that. I don't know how to bring it up in hospital. I don't know whether I should bring it up to my GP. It's a very awkward situation for me, because I don't want it to affect my medical care. And I know other trans people who have come out to medical professionals and had their care drastically altered because of them coming out. So I go in a female bay. I struggle a lot with dysphoria and feeling uncomfortable when people refer to me as female, but I don't know how to address it in hospital. So if anyone's got any tips on how to address coming out as non-binary in a hospital setting, that would be amazing. So it says, on masculine days do you prefer he, and on feminine days she, or is it they for all the time? For me, it's they all the time. I don't, like I said, my gender is fixed, my gender expression is fluid. So I always prefer they, always they. There's a question about, do external situations impact the gender that I associate with or the way that I dress? Now, I think this means, like, if I'm going to a certain place, would I dress one way? If I'm going to somewhere else, would I dress another way? Etc. I don't know. I think subconsciously I probably do. So, for example, if I was going to a Bible study, I might dress more feminine, because a lot of my Christian friends don't kind of know. I've got a tip. It can be somewhere on top right. Oh, thanks, Becca. But yeah, if I was going to Pride, I would probably ham up the masculine side and, dress really male, because I would want to be in that kind of sort of non-binary mindset and that masculine mindset. So I think I didn't quite understand that question, but that's my answer anyway. There's another question about what changes about my personality when I'm when I dress like masculine or feminine, and the answer to that is nothing. I'm the same person whether I am wearing a shirt and tie or whether I am wearing a dress. Hi Tasha, you've missed the beginning, but you can always go back and rewatch it. I'm just answering the question, do external situations impact the gender you associate with or the way you dress? And I'm just explaining whether I dress masculine or feminine, my personality stays the same. So my identity as a non-binary person is always my identity as a non-binary person, whether I'm wearing a shirt and tie or whether I'm wearing a dress. Because it's my gender expression that changes rather than my gender identity. The next question I've kind of addressed, but I want to, hey Becca, I want to go into a bit more, which is how is trans life being trans around the Christian faith? Now, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, I believe Jesus died for my sins, and I believe that if I follow Jesus and live my life in a way that he would be happy with, I will, when I pass away, I will go to heaven. That's what I believe, and I don't talk about it a lot because I know people don't like having religion kind of shoved down their throats, so I believe that. That's me. I also believe that Jesus is love, and Jesus loves people exactly how they were made. I was made in a body that doesn't suit my gender. And I'm not saying that that's a mistake on God's part, but I'm saying that if he doesn't love me because of that, and he made me that way, that doesn't really figure, does it? You get a lot of Christians saying that, trans people are going to hell and stuff like that. And for me, that's just not, I just don't get that, because we were made by God, in my mind, what I believe, we were made by God in a certain way. And if he doesn't love us for being that certain way, how does that, doesn't make any sense to me. So I believe that God loves me and he made me non-binary, and I'm not really out with my Christian friends. I'm kind of out with my Christian friends, but I'm not out in the wider church, because I don't know how they would react. I don't want to end up in some kind of disciplinary meeting where I'm told that I can't be trans, because that's happened in other churches, but for me it's just about loving people unconditionally, and whether they're male, female, non-binary, gender fluid, gender queer, agender, demi-boy, demi-girl, any of those, and all the others, that God made us that way and we are loved. And that's kind of all I've got to say on that. There's another question, which was, what do you do if you're out in masculine or feminine clothing and then you suddenly feel uncomfortable and you want to you don't feel comfortable in a dress and you would rather be in a shirt or whatever? I've never experienced that, so I'm quite comfortable in traditionally feminine clothes and traditionally masculine clothes, because to me clothes don't belong to a certain gender. Any gender can wear any item of clothing. So yeah, so it's, if I wore a dress, it wouldn't be a woman's dress, it would be Ali's dress, you know. But I do tend to prefer to dress more androgynous and male, again for that reason that it's further away from what I was assigned at birth, and therefore people won't assume that I am female. It's almost, you have to counteract the effects of the fact that I have a biological female body by dressing more masculine, to kind of counteract that. I've got a question that somebody asked, which basically was, if a young person at a school, a same-sex school, comes out as transgender, what do you think about them not being allowed to go back to the same-sex school? And it's a difficult one for me, because if I had gone to an all-girls school and as a teenager come out as non-binary or come out as trans, I probably wouldn't have wanted to go back to a same-sex school. I think same-sex schools in general are a bad idea. So I would probably have asked my parents to enroll me into a mixed gender school so that I was able to sort of blend in more, rather than being the only trans guy in a female school or the only trans girl in a male school. It would be horrible, I think. So I think it's kind of sensible in a way to... But it should be up to the child, it should be up to the young person whether they want to stay at same-sex school or go to a mixed school or go to the opposite-sex school. I don't think it's a decision that the school should make, it's between the child and their parents. But that's just my opinion on that. Any more questions, just comment them, because I haven't got any more on my sheet of paper. So just... see if I've missed any. I don't think I've missed any. Yeah, if you've got any more, just type them in the chat thing and I'll answer them. I guess for me, gender is a very difficult issue, and there's a lot of emotion surrounding it, because I'm still very new to all of it, so I would consider myself a baby trans person. I'm still learning, and I'm still very kind of, which is why I think other people, my friends who are trans and have been for a long time, I think that's why sometimes they jump in, because they know that I'm not very experienced in dealing with these situations. I'm not saying that that's what they should be doing or whether it's right or not, but for me, I think people step in because they're protective of me, because I am very vulnerable and I am very fragile. Hopefully with therapy that I'm currently in, I will learn to be less fragile and kind of more assertive and deal with the situations much more sensibly. But I am getting there with that kind of stuff. I think if nobody's got any more questions, I can go. Thanks for watching. Sorry if it's been a bit disjointed, and if there's anything I've said that you don't understand, either comment or shoot me a message to let me know, and I'll try and maybe do a second one of these, or just message you individually, and if there's stuff that you don't get, then I'm happy to try and explain it. Alright, bye.